I wouldn't want to waste too much time with the review, right? But thanks for joining and welcome to the NIBOSH National General Certificate April cycle. We were now saying that the recording was on YouTube. There are many such recording, but your individual record um, has also been on YouTube as well, right? And so what we did last week, I think we'd have introduced the project, we'd have started. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and we would have gotten to part one. We did all the part one. We did the methodology. From what I looked at the video though, it didn't seem as if we got to the RA table, right? Normally, I'm trying to figure why that was though. Normally when I do the part one, uh, I normally start the RA table as well. I don't think I was able to start the RA table. Anyway, that's what I saw from of the video, which means that is exactly what happened, right? Remember in doing your project, this is your holy grail, this is your map. However, most people don't use this for some strange reason, right? Lots of people, not too sure why they don't use the guide, right? And so what just as I have the guide here, just to see if anybody makes any mistakes, right? You could just follow the guide now and it tells you what to do. Just give me a minute. People are kind of coming in and still maneuvering the functions here anyway, right? Thing they are in, right? And how the Zoom thing works now, we have to see this sidebar here, right? So I guess what I was trying to say is that things like this then, like part one, the so the part one, like the name of the organization, the site location, how many workers are employed, those things then is things that you can get from the guide, right? In addition to we had a class on it and it's recorded, so you can get it from that as well if you make notes throughout that particular class as well, right? I think what I was trying to tell you all was that you should have done the project, that part one, and hand it up by Thursday, as Thursday and this Thursday here. But not much people did it. And this is what I say. Sometimes I find like there is a sort of gap between when it's taught to when you'll get it done. And it shouldn't be that way. You should try to get it done when it's taught now, like when it's fresh in your head, right? But that's up to you really. And I think that's the best way. If that way would have given us a way to look at your draft then and see what you're doing, right? And try to put it in your schedule because if you don't make a conscious effort to do these things, they of course never get done, right? So you have to put it in your schedule that, you know, Monday night you're gonna try something on the project, Tuesday night you're gonna try something on it. Because the time will sneak up on you and there'll be a day when it's actually due to NIBOSH, at which time we have to send it, right? So we did this last week. I don't know if you all have any questions, you can let me know. Of course, that would mean that you were doing something. If it didn't do anything, probably mean I don't have any questions, right? But see if you have any questions here. And I think where I got to the table here, right? But I don't think we got into this table because I didn't see that part on the video anyway. I didn't see the RA table on the video, right? Give me a minute again. Think of your question that you may have, and I am admitting some other people here at the moment. Right, anybody, any questions on the part one of it? I'll still keep on admitting people, right? Some persons are still coming on. All right, if not, let's kind of go into the table. So you want to put to the top of your table the name of the organization, and it must be the same name, right? Must be the same name that you use for your company in part one. You want to put the date of the assessment now. Any date now will be good enough, right? Um, any date in this time frame then, right? So you could probably put, I mean, not as if I know you're gonna do this today, but using today's date, the 19th of July 2025, right? And you can put any date from now to the time of hand up, right? So August, we'll finish our theory by August, by the way, right? August, I guess even September, okay? Exam will be called for the first week in September anyway, right? But even I guess even that first week of September, right? You can actually put that as well. So there's nothing wrong with the date anyway. Unless if you put a retroactive date, like they have 2022 here, then that makes it a wrong date, right? So the other thing you want to put is the scope. The scope is, and I wanted to write this down because people always get it wrong. The scope is the same as the areas that you had in part one, right? Don't put another scope. Don't put anything else. The scope is the same as the area that you said that you were going to do the inspection on, right? The scope is the same as the areas from part one. This is in reference to this up here, right? The scope. The scope is the same as the areas. If you go back, I'll show you. If you go back, you'll see in the scope, we have, sorry, the areas. If we look here, so a description of the area to be included in the risk assessment. If you read this, what you'll see, they say the risk assessment will cover the garage and spray boot activity. So then that's the scope. We're supposed to see the same thing in the scope. So if you come back here, you'll see the garage and spray boot activities. That's what I mean by the same as the areas, right? So if you said your risk assessment was on, like an office, I think we're using a bakery example last week, right? A bakery, the kitchen area. If that's what you said, the areas that you're going to do that you are going to do the inspection on, an office, um, of the bakery, the kitchen area, and the reception area, well, then that is the same thing you're putting back for the school, right? Take a note of it. People always mix that up. And again, the thing that you all have is a video, and the video, you all should look back at the videos. And that is something I was just telling another class I had just now there that, like before the pandemic, then people would actually use these, sorry, not before, during the pandemic, people would use the videos. I can't understand people stop using it now, right? Anyway, if you're all okay with that, let me clear that from there. See if you have any questions on the scope. Everything is should be kind of easy, right? All right, the next thing is that if you notice this, you have a table to fill out, and the table has 6 columns. So we're going to go through column by column, and hope that you all make your notes so that you don't get anything wrong in it, right? There are 6 columns to fill out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. NIBOSH refer to them in the same way, the 4th column, the 2nd column, the 3rd column, they refer to it in the same way, right? So for the RA, what you need 10 hazards taken from a list that NIBOSH has given you. I'll say that again. For the project, you need 10 hazards from a list that they are giving you. No, you don't have to make your own list. They give you a list, right? So could you take a note of that? The hazard category, I'll try to put it up here. When you read column 1, it actually asks for 2 things, the hazard category and the hazard. I'll tell you the difference in a bit, right? So the hazard category, they are coming from a list that NIBOSH is going to give you, right? And that's in the guide, that's in the document with the forklift, right? You could only use hazard categories from that list. If you use anything else, you'll get it wrong, right? And remember, to fail this project, you just need to do one mistake because they're checking by what is met and not met. I think I mentioned that to you, right? Like they check to see if you meet what they ask you for. So if you use your own hazards there, it's a good long as are not met. and not met would result in you not passing the project. So just do the right thing, right? So let's go and have a look at the guide. So the guide, again, is a document with the forklift in it. Let me just change back the marker here. Let me see where I put it. Yeah, please ask questions. You all are too much of people not to be saying that, right? Especially for something as important as a class like this. Let me try to clean the screen. I can probably leave that. Right? Anyway, so the guide, which is the document here with the forklift on it. Let me see if this will run, right? No, it doesn't run. I have to move our faces again. Right. So the document with the forklift on it, right? Has in it the list. So what you can do, you can probably print this page. They say you must use the table in part 2 of the assessment pack to complete the risk assessment. You would now need to complete a risk assessment for your organization. You must find and record at least 10 different hazards, 10, right? That are taken from at least 5 different categories. For the avoidance of doubt, hazard categories for this assessment are the topic headings for element 5 to 11 of the NG syllabus, as shown in the table 1 below. So they'll be giving the categories here, right? So what this is, you're choosing from here. I refer to it as the hazard pool, right? If the hazard is in here, you can use it. If it's not in the pool, you cannot use it, the hazard pool, right? So could you use noise? Yes. Could you use vibration? All of these are separate hazards, right? Could you use noise, vibration? Could you use work equipment and machinery? You need to take 10 from here. Could you use fire? So you all understand? It's not even that hard. They actually give you the hazards. You just have to choose the one that's relevant to your company. Could you use maybe work at height? Possibly if that is at your company. Could you use confined spaces? Hazardous substance, you could use this twice because you could use hazardous substance chemical and then you could use hazardous substance biological, right? So take a minute and write that down. Write that you have to use this table. Because some people don't, even though it's said to use it, and then you fail. I said, like, that's the amazing part of me with this course is like it that clear cut and people still does mess it up, right? And then those who do that means they didn't probably pay attention in class. They didn't make your notes. You didn't listen back the video. If you're sleepy, fine. But what, like, why not listen back to the video in YouTube anyway? You all have the most access to it. This is the only class I upload to YouTube anyway, right?
So
The rest of the classes have their own Google Classroom, yeah?
out of the hazard categories, how many elements do we have to use, or does it not matter?
Um, well, 10. I would say use 10 different ones, to be honest with you. If that is what you were saying.
No, the elements. How many elements do we have to use?
It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Like each of this is different. Like noise is different to vibration. Like they don't really check it by the elements, they check it by the hazard.
Okay. Okay, no
Yeah.
problem.
So 10, if you watch 10 different hazards, right? So you could use, I mean, mostly they don't really check the elements. They check the hazard, right? So noise, you could use noise someday, you could use violence at work, you could use if it's a bakery hazard or substance biological, you could spread it out a bit. Fire, electricity kind of is normal for everybody. Slips and trips, you can make up your 10 now. Loan working, might use loan working. If you have poor welfare facilities, use health, welfare, and work environment. But they don't really check the elements. They check to see if you have 10 different hazards. By the way, Andre, you could actually use more than 10 hazards, but you can't use 9. You can't use 9. I just had a student, Micah Charan, right? He didn't pass, and when we looked at the thing, he used 9. So a good idea sometimes that people even forget how much they do. Like when you go on the table, right? Let me go back to the table. When you go on the table, I normally tell the students number it. number it now because remember it's a UK examiner that looking at it. Let me get back the sample, right? So like how do you have here? Like you could probably number. Tell me if you're seeing the sample again. I have to take a pop up on my screen. You're seeing the sample again? Yeah, okay. Like this should like they could have number here one, like number one, and the other one they could number it. If this thing would allow me to go down. You could number the next one, number two, number three, and people have been known to go up to 12 hazards sometimes, but you won't get extra marks. But don't put nine. They like put in 11 and shows you have 10. Or you could just number it. You just number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you know you have 10. Then you know then you meet that criteria then, right? That's one of the criteria for passing. You must have 10 hazards. All right, I'm going back to the table now. If you could do this for me, I'm gonna break down every column for you. And we still breaking down the first one, right? So let's get to the first one again. Let me get back my marker, right? So you put a hazard category, hazardous substance. Now, really and truly, this should have been hazardous substance chemical. So I don't know if you want to correct this. You can write it in your notes. The category is hazardous substance chemical. Right? Right. Next thing. It was not a question for me. Doesn't seem like a question, right? Okay. Next thing. Again, what I was saying, if you notice the category or the column, then they ask us two things. They want the hazard category and they want the hazard. Well, the question is, well, what's the difference? The difference is the hazard is the example of the hazard category, right? So like you are going to give your example of hazardous substance chemical in your workplace then. So if you choose hazardous substance chemical, let me just read this one for you. Then the example will be here, dust, high concentration of processed dust. Now, if I had used a bakery or a restaurant, I could have used the same thing, hazardous substance chemical. But perhaps in the bakery, what would be the chemical, boy? I could probably put, large canisters of oil. I'm trying to think what is hazardous about it, right? Oil mightn't be hazardous. Are these vegetable oil? Anyways, I'll change it. Let me change it, right? So for the bakery, I probably could have gone with hazardous substance biological. You understand? Instead of chemical, I could have said biological, and I would have said something like, God forbid, I just saying this, right? Like rodents and rat droppings, have been observed in the work area. And that would be hazardous substance biological. Folks, you understand it a bit? Like we could all end up with the same categories because you're all choosing from the same pool. But your example of it would be different because that would be what is unique to your company. Right? Anybody could tell me like what type of companies they have in mind? What entity you have in mind for your part one? What type of companies, what type of entities you had in mind?
I'm
What
a
type
print
of
shop, sir.
eh?
A print shop.
A print shop. Oh, that's a nice one. Nice one there, different, right? So you'd have said hazardous substance chemical, and you can say, like inks and toners, and the empty cartridges are stored, haphazardly at the print shop, something like that. Think you understand it? Anybody else? Thanks, Devin. Anybody else?
Nice. So I used to work too, so I choose that place for a specific reason.
Yeah. Perfect. That's the best way to do it, right?
A
Anybody else?
restaurant, sir.
Okay, so
Restaurant.
restaurants, you had to help me with the chemicals. I mean, but you could probably remember in the restaurant you'll be using areas, right? So you would have said the scope. So the scope, maybe the scope is the pantry, maybe the scope is the kitchen area. You would have said what your scope is, right? So then you could say hazardous substance chemical. You could say chemical and biological. So that'll be two. You'll be getting two there, right? Not one. You'll be getting two. So number one and number two will be hazardous substance chemical. And you can say, like detergents, cleaners, disinfectants are stored in large quantities in the stockroom, something like that, right? And maybe these bottles have not been labeled, right? Or they have been, older chemicals and use. They kind of want to give an idea that it is a hazard. You understand here? They didn't just say dust, but they say high concentration of processed dust. If we say in chemicals, we have to say like disinfectants, cleaners have been stored in the stockroom, but containers have spilled from time to time. So you're kind of making it sound as if it is a hazard then, right? You understand? Okay, like if I said electricity here, if I said my category was electricity, I'll have to describe something. I have to say like electrical sockets and cords may have burnt marks on them and may have exposed wires. You understand? Remember, hazard is what have the potential to cause harm. So after you give the hazard category, you kind of want to describe the hazard. You all, you all understand what I just did there? You're not just saying electricity. You could even say like sockets have been overloaded in the kitchen area. Sockets have been overloaded. So you're kind of creating the impression that it is a hazard. Think you want another one? You want another one? We could do manual handling. Manual handling is a category. Let me go back and show you. So could we use manual handling? Watch here and see if you see it. Right, watch it there. Manual handling. So we could use it. But then you have to give you an example of it. You can say like 2 workers were seen straining, moving delivery supplies from the loading bay to the restaurant kitchen area. You create the thing now that it is a hazard, right? Lifting, lowering, straining, right? So the example is an example of a hazard or what could give to a hazard. And so you are creating a situation where you say the workers straining, or we say in high concentration of dust, or you're saying that there is rat droppings or something. You're saying, you're kind of giving the idea that is an example of the hazard category. Anybody think you have any questions? Or are we okay with column 1? I'm going back to the sample. Tell me if you're okay with column 1 and don't mess it up. Right? Take your time. In other words, what you're describing here is not something good then. It can't be the dust is under control. You have to say high concentration of dust. You have to say it have rat droppings. You have to say it have spill. You have to say a man straining, a worker straining to get something done. Right? You create the impression that it is a hazard. Tell me if you have any questions with column 1. Column 1 is actually finished. If you have no questions with it.
We're okay there so far, so.
Okay. But play back the recording, I tell you, if you have any questions. Okay, let's go to column 2. I'm going to try to clean up this slide a bit. I'm going to try to clean it up a bit. We have some other notes to take, right? So I'm taking off this, right? I'll take up the pool, taking off chemical, take off that, take off that, take off this, right? Let's go to column 2. So the first thing when you look at column 2 here, you'll notice column 2 is kind of deceptively long. What your long column 2 is, right? And I'll tell you why. So column 2, I'll put it up here though. They want 2 things, right? They want who could be harmed, and they want how. So who and how. The how though is like an explanation, a brief explanation. So you have to explain yourself here. Don't just give them the who. They will catch you. Nibosh are talking about. Plus I'll tell you it on your draft too, right? Don't just give them the who. You have to give the who and the how. Let's read it. Let's just kind of read up this one, right? So who could be harmed? All workers, customers, and others visiting the organization. So that's the who. The who finished right there. Let me get this thing to go down a bit, right? So the how I told you is like an explanation. Listen to what they said. High concentration of processed dust are always present from the routine and frequent activities being carried out. Since there is no dust extraction, people breathe in the hazardous dust, which can cause anything from short-term irritation to long-term serious health conditions. People can also get the irritant dust on their skin, which can cause dermatitis. No, yours will have to be that long, huh? I mean, not because this one long, yours had to be that long, right? It can be halfway, right? Where am I? Dermatitis. So dust on their skin, which can cause dermatitis, comma, in their eyes, causing eye irritation, or even accidentally swallow it, hand-to-mouth transfer from contaminated hands. You don't have to be that long, but you can't leave out the how, they will catch you, right? Because it's who and how. Look at right up there. Who might be harmed and how, right? So some people think that's an easy column. It's not. Column 2 is one of your longer columns, right? Column 1 actually is an easy column. Column 3 is an easy column. Column 5 is an easy column. Column 6 is an easy column. 2 and 4 are kind of the longest columns. Let me try the one. Let me try the one with the electricity, right? So if we're in the kitchen, whatever, we have said, I kind of made up one and said that they are overloaded sockets, they are exposed wires, right? So who could be harmed? I'll put the chef, well, I'm not just saying anybody's going to retrieve this stuff from the bakery. So maybe the receptionist, the chef, the receptionist, who could be harmed by electricity then, like being shocked, right? It wouldn't be customers because customers not going to come in your kitchen, right? So the chef, the receptionist, maybe I'm thinking about if they have I really don't know the names of these people anyway, so that's my mistake there, right? But a waitress or something, if it's that kind of restaurant, if it's something where the waitresses come in, right? So those are who could be harmed. But how could they be harmed? We're talking about electricity. We can say something like workers may inadvertently make contact with an exposed wire while trying to retrieve items from the oven or that was stored by the chef, right? If this occurs, it could lead to things like a mild shock, to more serious electrical burns, cardiac arrest, and eventually death, if you're looking at maybe a 210 outlet, right? But that's the explanation then, right? You cannot create a situation where how could somebody make contact with the exposed electrical wires then, right? So it mightn't be as long as this one, but you have to go on to explain yourself a bit, right? And that's it for the second color. Tell me if you're okay with the second color. Third is very easy.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Let's go to the third one then. I'm gonna take up that one. Hopefully you're making a little notes so that you don't get caught in the like in the pit, like the pitfalls that most students make then, right? Each column have a pitfall. Each column have a pitfall. Here you must use the hazard category. Here you must say who and how. So the third column, this one, all right? So what they wanted to do here, pay close attention, right? They wanted to sort of give a couple of controls. You don't have to overdo it. I normally tell my students, keep the controls for the fourth column. Like if you're thinking of controls, keep it for the fourth column. You don't need really much in the third column, right? The most thing is that most companies not really controlling the hazards anyway, right? So the third column, we did a couple of controls, about maybe 2 or 3 controls, and there's a way that you write them up. So this is a little catch here, right? So the way that you write in the third column controls is that you write them up in a way that makes them seem as if they are not good enough. You see what you're doing in the third column, you're setting up yourself for the fourth column. What you're doing in the third column, you are setting up yourself for the fourth column. All right? So the third column controls cannot be perfect. If you read these, you will see it, right? So you want to put it down in a way. So maybe you can take it down like that. The third column controls must be written in a way that it's not good enough. It's not perfect. That's why you have a fourth column. The heading in the fourth column is additional controls, right? So it's not perfect, right? So when you read them, you'll see, or if not, I'll explain them to you if you don't see it, right? So the first control in the third column is dilute ventilation, right? So you may wonder, well, what is dilute ventilation? And then why is that not perfect? It sounds good. Well, dilute ventilation is never perfect. Dilute ventilation is actually just opening the windows and the doors. That's dilute ventilation. You're not doing anything really. Dilute ventilation is when you open the windows and doors of your house. That is dilute ventilation. So if you have a high concentration of processed dust, dilute ventilation is just the least you could do there. It isn't all the extraction fans and things that you'll see here, right? So dilute ventilation, it by itself is an answer that is not good enough. It's like the least you could do. Like you could do more. Hence the further control column, right? But dilute ventilation is not what you think. It's the least you could do. Open your windows and your doors, right? Take a read of this one with me, right? I'll ask you to read a word here for me, right? Watch this one, right? And you'll see how this one is not perfect, right? Listen to what they said. Dust mask available. What's the next word after available? What's the word after available? But. So they kind of cut it down one time, right? So dust mask available, but it's not mandatory that these are worn. So then you could come and say now in your fourth column, you could come and say dust mask should be made mandatory. You understand? You leave way for the fourth column there. Let me just try my electrical example, right? So for my electrical example, I would say things like, remember I tell you we have the socket overloaded and it have exposed wires, right? So what could be what they're doing already? That's another thing, right? So we could say things like, I could probably say like the restaurant initially had a fire certificate when it first opened. So by saying when it first opened 5 years ago, it's kind of making it sound as if it's not up to mark today now. Think you understand that? I'll say it again. The restaurant, I use in Wayne Zone, right? And that was my kind of electrical example. Could fit in the kitchen of a bakery as well, right? So you can say that the bakery was first, first had a fire certificate, or the bakery had a fire, they say had, right? So the bakery had a fire certificate, but this was 5 years ago, right? You can say things like workers are encouraged to use additional outlets, but this may be ignored based on the proximity to the items they have to use for prepping, I guess, cakes and flour, that the mixers and stuff there, right? So maybe that's why they plug it all into one, because there is one socket there, right? Now, when you say that, you're kind of leading up to a fourth example, control. Like in the fourth column, you can say an electrician can be hired to extend and to split that unit then and to get like another electrical socket. You think so what's going on? This is the purpose of this line up here. Watch it. You're setting yourself up for the fourth column, right? What you say isn't being done here, then you kind of fix it in the fourth column. Tell me if you're okay with those sort of examples there. By the way, you have to give something. Some people say, well, my company don't have no controls. But you have to make up something because every column you have to be filled out, right? So like things like training, like the manual handling one, I could have said workers are trained in manual handling, but this was 5 years ago. You give it a but. You kind of shoot yourself in the foot, but that's what you want. That's the purpose of the third column. The third column is to give you controls, but remember, it's not quite perfect as yet. Yeah, tell me if you're okay, and the third column is finished.
Yes, sir.
Easiest column to finish, right? I just thought of another one, but I don't know how you'll use it, right? And I didn't mention that as a hazard. Maybe things like signage, you can say like there are signage around the company. Let's say they pick a hazard, maybe hazardous substance chemical, right? But these signs are faded. You understand? You're giving it a but, right? So there are signs saying do not touch chemicals, whatever, right? But these signs have been ignored or faded. And then in the fourth column, you say workers should be reminded in a kind of meeting of the importance of, not touching chemicals and putting their hand in their mouth or whatever it was now, right? So you fix it in the fourth column, right? All right, fourth column then, if that's okay with you. We almost finished it now. But I mean, then you have to go and do it. And that's the hard part, right? All right, fourth column. Gonna clear this one here, right? So the fourth column, as you would have seen, is the longest column, right? So the obvious thing here, let me start at the obvious, right? Is that, please take a note, right? And we'll take a note of all of them, but I'm writing it down now, just to get the marker to come in. All right, so for the fourth column, what you need 5 to 8 further controls. You don't have to give 8. You just need to give more than 3. The examiners don't like to see 3. Right? 5 to 8 further controls. Right? If you give 2, you give 1, you give 3, they will say it's insufficient. Right? So you want to give 5 to 8 further controls. Now, why 5 as a minimum? On the guide, I'll go back and show you. I'm going to tell you first, right? I'll do one thing at a time. So on the guide, they say you must consider the hierarchy of control. Like you must think of a way then, like if it thing could have been solved with elimination. It probably can't. I just say because remember if you're in a bakery, you're baking. And if you're in a company here and what they're doing, making dust, that's what they're doing. So you probably can't eliminate your process now. Like if you're mixing aggregate then ready mix, like you can't say eliminate ready mix. I mean, that's taking away the people work, right? If you say the flour in the bakery, eliminate flour, that doesn't make sense because, folks understand that, right? But what they say, consider the hierarchy of controls. Like if you couldn't eliminate, what could you do to reduce? What could you do to engineer out the problem? What could you do to administratively, if you know the hierarchy of control, right? Administratively, like what could you do? And then PPE, what could you do as well, right? So that's about 5 there. But how I tend to tell my students, and let me tell how I tell my students, let's just make it common sense. Like solve the problem. Give me a minute, huh? I think somebody was outside here, so I tried to admit them. Yeah, like solve the problem that you create now, right? This is something that NEBOSH is saying to some people are writing further controls, but it's not solving the problem. Like, okay, we talk about dust, but we didn't talk about how to lower the dust, right? We talk about 2 men, manual handling, but none of the controls address the 2 of those workers. We talk about the kitchen have rats or whatever, but none of your controls, people write kind of things they download from Google or something, right? And all you need, just like the open book exam, you just need common sense, right? Yes, you could research maybe how to control dust if you run out of ideas, but like I could just get the 5. Let me show you how, right? Like you could just, okay, if you just think about training, like training will work for everything. Training. You want to write it down, Ahmed? You want to write down training? I'll give you some that will work for for any hazard, it would work for any hazard. It's like when you run out of ideas now, right? Like manual handling would have been training. Hazardous substance, maybe could have used training here, maybe for the RPE, the respiratory protective equipment. So training, things like supervision always tends to work, right? things like designing out the problem, some kind of engineering control. PPE always works. PPE always works as an answer, right? All hazards can be controlled with some measure of PPE, right? And the rest of it is just the opposite to what you said. Like you said, if you said, like how I said, there was the electrical circuit to overload it, isn't just one of your controls just to isolate that socket and remove the excess cords from it? You understand what I mean by common sense? If I said it was rat droppings on the ground, right? Wouldn't one of your controls be to clean up the rat droppings? Wouldn't one of your answers maybe to block all sources of like where those rats are coming from? Drains and whatever have you? You can just make it common sense. As I was saying, like if we talk about noise as a hazard, you say noise was the hazard, right? And you say a generator making noise or a machine making noise, isn't one of your controls just maybe, like maybe repairing that machine, servicing the machine, right? Oiling it up, greasing it down, making sure the same thing could run, tighten up the belt, tighten up the fan belt, the police belt, and it'll make less noise, right? So there's always, you see why I put common sense there now? If you say that water on the ground, right? Why just don't isolate? So people will write everything about slips and trips, but they say water was on the ground, but they never address where the water coming from. Was it a leaking pipe? Was it the weather? If that's the case, well, then why didn't you just address? Why didn't you say like isolate that pipe, put a valve? Just make it common sense, people, right? And I mean, if it slips and trips, you can ensure worker have proper PPE if it wasn't water from a pipe. If it was like, but like if it's oil on the ground, right? Wouldn't you want to address where the oil coming from? How that oil reach the ground? People talk about training, PPE, but you talk about where the oil coming from. So if it's a leaking van, a leaking forklift, your control should be, to find the source of the oil and repair that particular equipment. Tell me if you're getting it. So then the fight becomes easy because PPE could work for anything, training could work for anything, common sense works, and then you're kind of just solving the problem that you create. Right? Like I said here, to me, the fact that dust mask was not mandatory, one of these countries should have been to develop a policy that makes dust masks now mandatory when workers are in and around this hazardous dust. Right? So don't say to yourself, I can't find the 5. You can more than find the 5 if you listen to what I tell you. All right? In case you still can't find the 5, probably can Google it, right? And then get an idea and use it in your project anyway, right? Tell me what you think. Oh, sorry, I have one more thing to tell you. I have something to show you. Remember, I tell you something on the guidance I had to show you. All right, so on the guidance, right? NIBOSH is asking for, I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you instead of talking to you, right? On the guidance, watch it here. Let me just pull this up out here, right? On the guidance, they are asking you to say which of the controls match up to the hierarchy of controls. I'll show you. Hang on. Look at here, right? 4th column. So what further controls or actions might be needed? Column 4. Remember, you must. Not that you can. You must take account of the hierarchy of controls. And principles of prevention is another way to say hierarchy, right? In deciding on further controls. So what they ask for is something like this then. Let me go back to the guide. What they ask for, your listeners tell, right, is like when you put your controls out, they want to know which of the elements does this fall under in the hierarchy of control. Right? So you have to think about it. You have to think about what you write. And is it elimination? Is it substitution? Is it engineering control? Is it administrative control? And is it PPE? And what most students do, they put it in a bracket to the end of the answer. So this one, Enclosed area to be set up and grinding. So that does sound like, if it's an enclosed area, that could be engineering. I just put ENG here, right? So this would be engineering control. But you are the right of the whole word, right? Engineering, right? Purchase of an untooled dust extraction system. Now, if we purchase it, that would be administrative because you're buying something. That has to go through admin then, right? Getting a budget approved and stuff like that. Administrative control, right? Use of face masks in conjunction with extraction system. That would be PPE, right? I don't quite agree with how they say some of these. I just telling you how to match up this. And you just put a bracket. So what I tell our students to do is that you all think about it. Sorry, let me just finish up. This is, of course, the PPE as well, right? PPE. Okay, right? So you don't have to get one in every one. You're listening, you don't have to get one in every one, right? Once they see you consider the hierarchy, you'll get it correct, right? But if you don't match it up, they will say that you didn't match it to the hierarchy of control. Once you try to match it up, you would get it correct, right? So what I was going to tell is that what I tell our students to do is write it out first. Like forget that now, just write out. I mean, I don't know if you want to forget it or you want to think about it. Some people do think about it and say, like, what is an administrative form of control? What is a PPE form of control? Training is administration, right? Or you can write them out and then try to match it up, like what they say you're doing here. Like, don't bother with it at first, but whatever technique you prefer, I guess, right? Write out yours and then try to match it up to the hierarchy of control, right? I have I tell you some people's project, if you want to see some, but let me finish off now, right? And if you want, we can take a look at somebody who passed. Remember, the sample is not perfect. Did I mention that to you all? I think I did, right? The sample is not perfect. The sample is far from perfect. If you follow the sample, in fact, you'll fail. That's why they give you the sample, because they don't want you just to plagiarize it now, right? The sample is not perfect. It's far from perfect, in fact. You'll see. All right. Talk to me a bit about the fourth column. Tell me if you think you understand it. Putting out about 5 to 8 controls there. The truth is,
Yes.
you can actually Google if you want. But the thing is, you could just give the opposite to what you say. Slips and trips. And you say, okay, there's a code in the ground. Well, move the code. Right? So what your further control should be like a housekeeping policy should be developed where, a supervisor is able to check the work area maybe once a day. And any loose code should be removed. In that case, if it's a supervisor, that's an administrative control, right? A greater answer could be, why was there loose cords? Because if people trying to get a socket again, an electrical socket now, we can say, well, an electrician can be brought in to kind of assess placing another socket closer to the employees and that they do not have to use any extension. So you're making it real, hence the word up there, common sense, right? If you do that, you'll pass. I tell you, the minute you start to write controls there that not solving your problem, they comment on that. They comment on, like, they don't know how this is going to solve that problem that you said there, right? So always remember that the fourth column is kind of linked to the third column, and this is actually linked to your hazard as well, right? The rest of it easy now. After you finish it, the rest of it easy, right? But I'll walk you through column by column still, right? I think I could put our faces to the top, maybe back to the side, because we almost finished the table, right? So the next thing, if you all are okay there, I have some space, and the fifth column do have much thing to write in anyway, right? So I'll just kind of leave the writing there. So the fifth column, there's 2 catches on the fifth column, right? So there's two catches here. So once you do this, you'll pass. So for the fifth column, you need a time for every action. You need a time for every action. I'll put the equivalent sign here, right? So every action, you need to give a time. Don't leave it out. Don't leave it out. You need a time for every action, right? So enclosed area to be set up, 6 months. Correct. Purchase of an on-tool dot extraction system, 1 month. Correct. Use of face mask, 1 month. Correct. If you get bored, put back the same number. Forget that. Forget being bored. Just put back the same number, right? You see, to have 6 months, 6 months, 6 months, that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Well, I kind of have a problem with 6 months, but in the train of thought here now, of putting a time scale for every action, I think that is correct. I have a problem with 6 months, personally, right? So I think nothing should be 6 months, unless it's something complicated that you're going to do, right? Like maybe enclosing the area, but still, half a year to build a room, not at all. 1 month time. 1 month time, a contractor doing that for you, right? Why would they take half a year to make a room? So anyway, that's my thing with it, right? But just remember, put a time scale for every action, right? So like 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, right? So why people fail? Some people fail for the 5th column. People fail for all the columns, by the way, right? Remember, if you don't do what they wanted to do, like you don't put the remember, tell you every column have a catch, right? This one you use the wrong hazard. This one you say who, but you didn't say how. This one you give the control, but you didn't give it a but. You didn't short sight yourself then, right? This one you give the controls, but you give 3, you didn't give 5 to 8. Or you didn't match it to the hierarchy. But if you know the catches, then you know what to avoid and you will pass, right? This one here, what some people do, they put 6 months and then they put these punctuation marks. You know these marks? You know that these marks that signify that those things are 6 months as well? NIBOSH don't like that. They say they don't recognize that as a time scale. Did you all get that? Don't put that. If you put in 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, put it. Forget that punctuation, right? The other thing I see some people do, they put 6 months up there or 1 month and they leave all here blank. Every action must have a time scale. So that's the rule in this one, right? I told you there were 2 catches. So let's get to the other catch. The other catch is that the time scale must be a number. You want to write that down? The time scale must be a number. They don't want to see a word. It must be a number. Please write it down. If you make that mistake, I know I do my part. Right? The time scale must be a number. They don't want to see a word. So 6 months is fine in that sense of being a number. 1 month, 1 month, 6 months, 1 month, 6 months, 1 month, all of those are fine. Nothing wrong with that. Besides the 6 months being long, but that's easy for something else, right? So if you don't put a number and you see it, well, they will catch you on that one, right? So you may be asking yourself, but what else do people put? What else people put in? If you say put a number, what else they put in to get wrong? Well, folks, if anybody's sleeping, this is the part of the class that I tell you all I don't like to do. Sometimes when I say don't do something, that's like when somebody wake up. So they just hear that part now, right? So like they don't like words like ongoing. If you put ongoing, that would be wrong. Because ongoing is a word, it's not a number, right? If you put things like daily, daily is wrong because daily is a word, daily is not a number. Folks, you understand what if you want to say daily, just say 1 day. Just say 1 day, right? Remember, tell you passing this project from the very first day, right? Of doing the project. It's not really content-based, it's more like following instructions. It's kind of like when they say jump, jump. Remember that illustration I gave you all? If they say jump, then jump. Because in the real world, we do say ongoing, we do say daily, but they don't want to see that. They want a specific number, right? Anybody have any questions? I'm trying to see what else people just put there as be annually. That's wrong too. Annually is wrong because it's not a number. You could say 12 months and it would be correct. If you put annually, it would be wrong. Strange, but remember, I didn't make the rules. This is the rules of the game. If you just follow the rules, you pass. They don't follow the rules and they spot it. And the thing is, they just spot it. That's the thing. Tell I had a student, give you one quick story. She did that. She just put one time frame in it. Somebody who put the one word daily. That's why I know these things, right? And they spot the word daily and they say daily is not a specific time scale. With the student, she had put a number to the top here and she used the punctuation. She came down with the punctuation. They didn't recognize it, right? And I mean, even recently, the last class I told you I had 100% passes or so. It wouldn't be that May class, it'd be a class before. But it was this year, right? I had a class in Guy. Now there's a guy and he's very much fighting up as everybody is, looking for betterment. She was shocked when they failed her. She's like, that's simple thing. And as I say, the project is not, I mean, you have all the good content all about moving cords and housekeeping and PPE and all the good content, but you don't put a time scale. And she was like, she couldn't believe that's what they feel. I for saying that's what we go through in the orientation. I mean, like this class now, like this class here, we telling you that it's a series of met and not met. It is like just judging against the judges, like America's Got Talent or something like that. But we had to abide by the rules of the judges, and this is how they're judging you, right? Mightn't be fair, because to me, there's no reason to, like, that is ridiculous, if you ask me, right? Off the record, that is being recorded for YouTube. Let me not say that, right? Folks, I don't say it already. But that's my personal belief, right? That's my personal belief. That's not NIBOSH. You all do what NIBOSH asks you what to do. My personal belief is that there's nothing wrong with those time scales, but I'm just telling you, I have to tell you the facts, what the examiners do and what they fail people for, right? So you put what I tell you to put. Put time for every action, put a number. And if you don't want to put month, you could put 2 weeks. That's still the number 2, right? So 2, right? So 2 weeks, right? Or you spell out 2 weeks, 1 week, right? 7 days, 5 days, 3 days. It still is a number. It's not daily, but it still is a number anyway, right? What do you all think of column 5? In the words of The Rock, it doesn't matter what we think, does it? Right? You all didn't catch that one. Anyway, yeah. It doesn't really matter what we think, does it? Right? I mean, NIBOSH rules are NIBOSH rules. What we think of the column, right? As Rock would say, Dwayne Johnson would say, for the younger generation who don't know who The Rock is, right? As Dwayne Johnson would say, it doesn't matter what you think in this column here. It doesn't really matter. We have to kind of do what they want us to do, right? All right, last column, column 6. Let me see if we can we could still fit column 6 there, but I'll put us on this side, right? So column 6, right? Column 6. So column 6, not much to say there, but 2 things to say, everything is like 2 things, right? So 2 things to say in column 6 is that, again, you need a responsible person for each time frame now. So can I just put at the RP, you need a responsible person for each time frame, even if you're going to repeat that. You need a responsible person for each time frame, right? So don't leave it blank. Don't use the punctuation thing either, right? So for each time frame, you need a responsible person, right? Watch it. Workshop manager, put it, workshop manager, finance director, put it back, right? If all yours was HSE manager or HS manager, put all as a health and safety manager. Don't leave it blank. All right. So but other than that, right? The other catch is that this person have to be a position in the company. Right? Or I guess you could go out of your company if it's a contractor. Like if you're purchasing something then from a supplier. But still, this column will tell you who is responsible for it. Now, if you look here, like maybe improve housekeeping, the finance director, purchase at least 2 suitable vacuums. So they say the finance person or HR. whoever it is in your company, right? I guess let me tell you what the examiner said here, right? So they didn't like, for those of us who are using small entities, if you're using a small fabrication shop, if you're using a bakery, using a roti shop, a puri shop, Guyana, right? A puri shop. Um, you know, they don't like when you say owner. So owner is wrong. They say owner is not a position. You understand that, people? So owner is not a position. And people have this temptation whenever you use small entities now, puri shops, roti shops, bakeries, small garages, who's responsible? You say the owner. But the peeve here with NIBOSH is that owner is not a position in the company. You understand? The owner may hold a position like the CEO. So then he could just say CEO. So could I just draw a line through owner because I don't want you to think I put owner there. I'm going to scratch it off, right? So if you're thinking the bakery owner, the roti shop owner, the puri shop owner, say, if it's a roti shop, it wouldn't be the CEO with it. I mean, but for small establishments, puri shops, roti shops, you want to say maybe anybody could help me? What would you say? I guess if it's a roti shop, a puri shop owned by the person,
Managing director.
say it?
Managing
Oh.
director.
Yeah, managing director, that'd be good, right? But don't say owner. You say director, you say managing director. Folks, you get that a bit? Imagine, remember, folks, remember I tell you, they don't feel it because anything technically wrong. They feel it because of these simple little things anyway, right? Remember we said parts in the project is like kind of fake. It's like half real and half fiction, you know? That's why you didn't need to go anyway. You could just sit down home and do this project, right? But because of that, they kind of mark you along certain criteria and like it must be a specific time scale. It must be a responsible person. Managing director be perfect. I guess if it was a person doing the work, it could be like head chef. I just thinking, head chef, head
Team lead,
baker. Yeah, say
team lead.
team lead. Yeah, if it's a company. But if it's like a bakery, can we just say like maybe the baker, the head baker, something like that, right? But yeah, managing director is actually perfect because that is a position in an org chart, right? And folks, that is the end of the table. I think I may stop here because I have actually been going since about 7:30, right? The other thing is, if we start part 3, we wouldn't finish part 3. So maybe to avoid the overload, because there's a lot we kind of did today. What I could probably do, I could do something. I could find somebody's sheet for you and show you, but I don't think I want to add in new content again. And the reason is that part 3 have nothing to do with part 2. Well, the first part of it, in fact, have nothing to do with part 2. So I don't mind stopping here where your brain could digest this piece of it. And then we could just, unless you could find something to show you all. I wonder if I'm okay to do this, boy. Okay, stick around, right?
Excuse,
Yeah, go ahead.
Justin here. Would you be able to show us a past paper or someone who passed and give us some examples of what they did as compared to this paper we were looking at here?
Sure, yeah. But stick around a bit, right? Stick around a bit.
Yeah.
Stick around, I don't go anywhere. Okay, so what I did, I paused the recording there because I don't think, remember this going to YouTube and I don't have these people permission to show you their stuff now, right? Let me see if I could find some. So I pause the recording so we could look at it. So on the record, this wouldn't show, right? Let me see if I could find my folder. So it wasn't, I didn't load it up on the view screen or not like that, right? So I'm going to have to go and try to get it. Yeah, I mean, there are much better projects like NEBOSH have those things on a copyright thing now, right? Like showing somebody. Like normally if we had an intranet class, I would have recorded it, but you could see it. Let me see if I could find that same class for me. Okay, I got it, right? So you all could, okay, I'll tell you when I get a good one, right? But everybody passed, so everybody is good, isn't it? But there was a gentleman who got the highest in the exam. I could show you his. Now you are free if you want. You could take a picture over the screen if you want to do that. But I would I think this is the wrong me I went into, Sparkle Khan. She from Guyana. She did a good project. She passed, right? She's working Exxon. This one I'm going to open here. I don't have Saturnessa Ben here. This is the trainer for Exxon in Guyana. Exxon have one main internal trainer, right? Let me see if it comes up, right? A nice lady, in fact, right? Nice student, never had any problem at all. Very, very, um, you know, I was trying to get into Exxon to teach now. But how Exxon works, like I said, they have their own trainer, they have their own fleet of programs. I'll still gonna try to maybe see if I can get through Sparkle. Yeah, that's actually her name, Sparkle. Sparkle is actually her name, right? Sparkle Khan. Right? Tell me if you all can see it. Can you all see this one? Yeah.
Not seeing a screen.
Oh, you're
No,
not seeing
sir.
it? Okay, hang on. Just now. Share. Tell me now. You should be seeing Lynch Enterprise coming up.
No, sir.
Nothing, sir.
Still not? I know we stopped the recording. Did we stop the recording or we stopped the